take it away. Juli and JoAnne.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Good afternoon. Hello.
Hello. I want to start with a quick question. Are you paying attention all the way in the back? How many of you have spent time in a building in downtown Milwaukee? Show of hands in the last year. All of you, get your hands up. Okay, and how many of you have spent time, any time in the last year, in a building at 35th and Fond du Lac Avenue? Look around. I saw two. So geography separates us, especially in this town. JoAnne, my partner, and I democratize real estate. We're here to talk to you briefly about the Sherman Phoenix. It's one project we're using to do that. So the Sherman Phoenix, what is it? It's a building at 35th and Fond du Lac in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But it's much more than that. For its over 100-year history, it was a bank. Until 2 years ago, it was burned. It was burned during an uprising in the city of Milwaukee, resultant from the shooting of a black man by police, at which time Milwaukee became part of a national narrative around Black Lives Matter. And at that time, JoAnne and I looked at ourselves and looked at each other and said, how can we be part of a story that moves Milwaukee forward? Today, about to open the Sherman Phoenix is a cultural hub, a food hall, and a wellness center, a space for tech to happen for 29 entrepreneurs, mostly black-owned businesses right here in the city of Milwaukee. So that's briefly what Sherman Phoenix is, but let's take a step back and talk a little bit about why we're here.
Yeah. So we're here to make the connection. We're here to call upon all of the brilliance in the room to say, how do we connect the thread of technology to all the work that we are doing in the central city of Milwaukee? It's important for us to call forward a we narrative, that what Juli and I are capable of doing are running businesses, bringing our neighbors into a situation, into the economy, an opportunity. But how do we not only look at this as a cultural hub, but a hub for technology? We have school systems in our community, we have teachers, we have children, we have adults who are ready to step into the tech space. And today, I thought, how is this opportunity going to be used for its highest purpose? And what came to me was really around galvanizing the brilliance in the room to cultivate not only the Sherman Phoenix, because we believe this will be one of many opportunities to reinvest in community. As I say invest, I see many of our investors in the room. So the way this project came to be is really around the notion of investment and shared ownership and philanthropy. The building was blighted and burned, as are many of our buildings in the central city. But what's not blighted and burned is our greatness, our hope, our abilities. Our technology is ready for a home. And so as we think about what is happening here, we've heard about Aurora and Northwestern Mutual, the partnerships that are growing, we want to be considered a spoke in the hub model to really think through how do we engage 29 tenants. Some are invested in tech, but others who are just burgeoning into the opportunity and really call forth a greater possibility.
And these are all partnerships, so how do we do this? None of you have been to 35th and Fond du Lac. Well, first of all, why don't you come to Sherman Phoenix? All your brilliance, it exists at 35th and Fond du Lac as well. Bring your ideas there, do some co-working in our space, or make a connection, because connecting across divides is what's going to change Milwaukee. It's going to grow that talent pool that we like to talk about. Well, it's not intangible in our process. It's just two humans. Why are we working together? I'm white, JoAnne's black. Let me just state the obvious, but we're partnering in a way that is across a unique strategy. I have real estate development experience. JoAnne has entrepreneurial experience. I figured out that I didn't know how to be successful at 35th and Fond du Lac, so I needed to find a partner. JoAnne was not clear how to do real estate development. She worked with me on a partnership. So coming together with people who don't look like you, who aren't from the same fields as you, is part of our responsibility, particularly us who are white, to develop a new strategy for Milwaukee. So in this piece of real estate, we've come together to build it together, to learn together. And the other creative strategy is using crowdfunding with 500 different Milwaukeeans who are investing in this project. So asking to partner with people who aren't like you on things you don't do, to innovate in places you don't innovate typically, in spaces you don't typically innovate, that's how we'll change some of the narrative.
I think it's important for me also to really frame the concept of innovation. And innovation has polarized us in a way that has become unhealthy. So how do we look at innovation that will allow us to turn back towards each other? And so for us, that's this project. I've become a bit of a Luddite because when I think of innovation, innovation is now talking to my neighbors. Innovation is creating places where we can convene and enjoy technology. So our neighbors are excited, and our hope is that we, from this point of opportunity, being here with you all, really have a critical opportunity to think through together how tech can not only rest in the Sherman Phoenix, but advance throughout our communities in Milwaukee. And then there's this mentorship piece. There's this significant opportunity to take an individual who doesn't have the same vantage point, the same vision, or the same lens, and nurture a different, this thread of possibility is consistent in our language. So here we are, the end, 29 tenants that represent a spectrum of services. So you can come have pizza, do yoga, acupuncture, and get a haircut.
Juli, shoes, locks,
hair, we have it all.
barber.
But one of the greatest points of innovation will be how we think about this thread of technology.
I think it's tech, but it's also just belief. Folks, when we started, we thought we'd bring one business, my colleague JoAnne's Juice Kitchen, to Sherman Park to help lift up the community after the uprising. We walked into this bank and thought, well, it's way too big for one business. Let's put 12 in here. Today, as we mentioned, we have 29 tenants. Why is that? Because there is overflowing demand in places you're not looking. There is overflowing brilliance in people you're not seeing. And that is really what we're hoping to reveal through the rising up, through the ashes of this burning down of the city, a rising up of a recognition of what can happen everywhere, including not just downtown Milwaukee, but places like 35th and Fond du Lac in Milwaukee.
So see us, be with us, journey with us, and we'll do more together. There is this opportunity for a we narrative. So we're curating that narrative in 20,000 square feet of space on 35th and Fond du Lac, and we hope to see you all with us.
ShermanPhoenix.com, opening November 30th.
And it's not a small feat. Wait, one second. I have to say collectively together, and this seems like a small number, but it's been a journey in community. We've raised a little over $4 million. And so for us, it feels like this is not only possible, but let's do it again. So thank you all for listening.